Live from London and Melbourne, the Spontaneity Shop presents the Guilty Feminist 10 for 10 with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Celia Pacqola. Celia Pacqola, welcome to 10 for 10. To celebrate 10 years of the Guilty Feminist, I'm interviewing 10 of the most beloved Guilty Feminist regulars about the last decade of feminism, comedy and life, and maybe a little bit about the next 10 years as well. I am just so thrilled and delighted that you've agreed to do the show because you are genuinely one of my favourite people to do it with.
I can't believe that I am.
Yeah.
How many shows has there been? Hundreds, right?
Yeah, there's been, we've done it for 10 years. But you've done some iconic episodes, Celia. You have to understand how iconic your episodes have been over the years.
Oh, okay. They've been iconic in my life, just in terms of, but I figured that was just me personally. I didn't realize, they've been real markers. Because it's interesting because 10 years, I didn't realize, because this year is my 20 years since my first ever stand-up gig. It's a real big year of milestones, and it's 40 years of the Melbourne Comedy Festival this year as well. I know.
So you've been doing the Guilty Feminist for half the time you've been a stand-up.
Yeah, I know.
That's interesting.
I know. But yeah, congratulations. Happy birthday. 10 years.
Thank you. And congratulations for your 20 years. 20 years in the biz, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I remember when I was when my parents would introduce someone and go, this is my friend, I've known them for 20 years. And I remember thinking, how could you do anything for 20 years? You know what I mean? When you're like 15,
yes.
how could you have done anything at all? Now I'm like, yeah, I've been doing that for 20 years.
20 years flies, man. It flies. You can't even believe it. You turn around, this is what happens when people have babies. They turn around and then they're like, oh, the baby's now left home. And it just flies. And you have, since we began working together, you've had a baby. I was just listening to an episode of The Guilty Feminist where you were heavily pregnant, about to drop, and you were wearing a pro-Roe T-shirt.
That's right. That was a real moment. And I also wore that T-shirt to a protest because that was at the time when the Roe v. Wade that was being overturned, and to be heavily pregnant at that time and hearing about women being forced to carry a pregnancy that they didn't want was just outrageous. And I very much enjoyed going to a pro-abortion, pro-women's right to choose rally, heavily pregnant, and with my dog for some reason. I took my dog. That was a mistake. I thought the dog was a female, and I thought the dog wants to come as well. And there was a bit, the dog didn't really need, could have stayed home. But
she was
part of the fight.
Listen, we've all got to pitch in at this point in history.
Yeah.
Can I ask you what you remember from your very first Guilty Feminist appearance? Do you remember where it was, when it was?
I really do. Do you know what? I have such a terrible memory, but it's sort of visual. I remember always the rooms because it feels like now you're always in the Hamer Hall, which is this huge venue. But before then, I remember it was always a different space that it was in. So it was at the Town Hall.
I believe it was Town Hall. Yeah, it was one of the spaces in Town Hall during Comedy Festival.
And I was wearing a T-shirt with cats on it. But I get confused because my memory was that it was with Cal Wilson, but it wasn't. But that's just because she was a cat lady. That's why I thought that was with her, but it wasn't.
It was such an early episode that Sophie Hagen was still on it. It was actually episode 10.
Ever? What?
Yeah. Really early doors. So Sophie and I started it. Then we were both in Melbourne for the Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And we said, we might as well do a couple of episodes while we're here.
Yeah.
Maybe we only did one. And we asked you to do it because I really loved your comedy.
Well, because we hung out in London. This is when I just...
Yes. Yeah. So we'd already hung out. So I said, Celia, she'd be great. She's so funny. And we said, what would you like to do the episode about? Because it was so early doors. We were just really interviewing comedians. We didn't have any activists or anything on yet. And that was sort of much later. So it was just early doors. It was just like, we want to talk to comedians about feminism.
About feministy stuff. Well, I already had the material because that was the other thing. Now that I know that it was 10 years, that's when I hosted the gala, which was huge for me. I remember I'm not the first woman to have hosted the gala, but I was the youngest woman to have hosted the gala. It's getting very specific.
Amazing.
And I was I had my material about going to a cat cafe and about the why I think why there's all this judgment on women who have cats, like this concept of the single. Why we allocate cats as the lonely person's pet, which doesn't make any sense. I was like, here's a topic that, you know, is a feminist thing because it's that stereotype of sad cat lady. And yeah, so I think that's probably why I would have brought that. But I did that material at the gala as well. That was my cat cafe year.
We loved that you pitched Crazy Cat Lady, and you had such a strong attitude about it that you were like, well, Ned, I think, has got a clip. Ned, have you got a clip you want to play us?
God, this is going to be upsetting, isn't it? Okay.
No, it's brilliant.
No, you suggested that. Let's bring on our amazing guest, ladies and gentlemen, Celia Pacqola.
Oh my God, I have so many opinions. Fucking hell.
You've worn your Crazy Cat Lady t-shirt.
It is not crazy.
Sorry,
that doesn't sound great.
You suggested the topic. You've brought you for the listeners at home. You've worn your cat t-shirt.
Yes.
So Celia, are you a cat person?
Yes, but just right. I don't know where to start. Okay, why can't cats just be fucking cats? We put so much on them. Deborah's making them their fucking your wingman. Like, I don't know why cats have become so involved in our relationships. They're just fucking animals. Like, they're so sexualized. But it's like it's a real thing. I don't know at what point we just decided the sad, lonely cat woman thing is a real thing. But it absolutely is. Like, if a woman has 3 cats, oh, such a sad, lonely, crazy old lonely cat. Oh, so sad. Did you hear she's got 3 cats? Oh, my God, so sad and lonely. I don't know how she does it. God. If a woman has 3 dogs, too much fun. She's probably got a jet ski.
What's wild about listening to that? Like, this is the thing that I remember about the Guilty Feminist audience. Like, even that was the first time in Melbourne, that warmth, rapturous, they're the most giving, excited to be there, best audiences to play to. And the cat stuff, I feel like as well for me, particularly with the feminism stuff, finding a way in to talk about anything political for me, because I don't feel like an expert in anything. Do you know what I mean? So finding a way in that I feel like I've got that I have a right to be talking about, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. I think we all feel like that a bit, but you have such great personal takes. I remember you doing so that if people say to me, I'm new to the Guilty Feminist, what should I listen to? There are 2 episodes I recommend. One is about raising feminist boys, an episode we did in London. And the other one it's called Nice Girls Don't. And it was you and me co-hosting, and you did some unbelievably brilliant stand-up. And this is what made me think of it, about body hair.
The hair one, yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh my God. If you are listening at home and you haven't heard that episode or you can't remember it, just search for Nice Girls Don't. And you talk about it as if it's a flatmate growing hair that you say, people say, oh, you've got to love your body. And I'm allowed to hate my body sometimes. It's like an annoying flatmate who you come into the kitchen and they're growing hair.
I'm still doing material about that. This show is about trying to find ways to love your body and being okay with things that you don't love. But that was particularly about, because again, it was like, right, what's a feminist topic that I feel I can have an opinion on? And it was body hair, because it was one of those things. Women, and my position is dealer's choice. Basically, if it feels good, keep it. If it makes you feel gross, get it out of there. But it was like, I'm allowed to hate my body, because how would you feel? Yeah, if you lived with someone who grew hair all the time in places you didn't want it, like if you just came down and you were like, why is there hair on the fridge? And they're like, warmth. And I was like, it's not for anyway. I can't remember the bit, but that's what it was. And that's the other thing.
It's
like,
very
that
funny.
material was in a show, but I'd never do it in a spot because it's too weird. But Guilty Feminist, like, that's what I mean. There's such beautiful audiences. And I remember that show because that was the one with Cal that was at that was the Wheeler Centre. And
that was my first show ever with Cal.
Story. Was it? Told about.
I didn't know Cal.
Yeah. Oh, was that
Jeff?
When you met? Oh, man.
Jeff Ring, who was producing the show at the time, said, I really think you should consider Cal Wilson. I think she's the perfect guest for you. I want you to see her stand-up show. So I went to see her stand-up show and was like, oh my God, yes, we have to have her on the show. And she came, and like that show, I feel like it's almost like a perfect Guilty Feminist show, because you were so funny, like hysterically funny, your stand-up. We were funny together. I told a story about getting in a car but it was an Uber, but it was the driver had given me his number, and I just called him up, and then when he got there, he was high, and I realized it wasn't tracking on an app, and then he started being like hostile about women, and I was in the back of his car, and no one had any idea where I was. It was in LA. Yeah. And I remember telling that story, but telling the story about how I got out of it and how I feel like women get out of things by cleverly talking their way out, because you're not going to stand a chance if this guy attacks you. And I remember that story being like shifting the gears. And then Cal came on, hysterically funny. The three of us really bonded and had this gorgeous warmth in our conversation. And then Cal told the story that you just referenced. She told a really funny story about, I think, getting really sick at a romantic restaurant.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah.
Needing to go to the loo. And then she told the story that you're thinking of, which is the story about like a hazing ritual at school.
Yeah. She's, and then went on to be on the show so many times, and is so wonderful because it's such great insight, but also such warmth, and also that improvisers vibe, that real yes and like can close anything. You know what I mean? Like it's a different. I'm like, I don't have an end, and the both of you just can run with anything. But yeah, I remember that show as well. And then it was the 2021 is the next big one that I remember.
I remember this. You were just about to do what we call Strictly Come Dancing, and you called Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. This is crazy. I remember I was so excited because I've never been so like, Deb, I've got so much to tell you. You're not going to believe. Because I was in rehearsals, but it was so strange because the beginning of that year there was these terrible bushfires in Australia, and I signed up to Dancing with the Stars, and it felt so silly to be doing this ridiculous, silly thing when there was this awful bushfires and terrible things going on. And then during doing Dancing with the Stars, the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden dancing became the most important thing in the world. I was like, the world needs dance. Like everything was so scary, and there was the world went into lockdown during this show. So we went from live television audiences, live audience in the room, to live but no audience, to people dancing in quarantine on rooftops, to live broadcast interrupted by the Prime Minister to tell the country that we were shutting down schools in the morning, then cut back to me and Jared doing a jive. Anyway, so it was very surreal. But coming on that show with you, that was so fun. Again, in a bigger room. That's what's been amazing, is every time I've done the Guilty Feminist, just watching the crowd grow. And I was on, and that was the other one. That was the first one where I was on with, that was with Jan Fran, like with activists for me. And I just kept doing my thing, which was I was there talking about dancing. You know what I mean? Like I just come in and go, hi everyone, I'm just going to talk about dancing. And it was so great for me to meet them and listen to them talk about
You've got such a great way about you though. I remember you saying that you'd never danced before, and you said it's like he's teaching a fridge to walk.
It totally was. And he hated me because the comedians never win, even though I won, by the way, spoiler.
You did win. You were the first comedian ever to win.
Yeah. Because I was the most unfit and like the least fit, like anyway. But and I forgot that I don't like people touching me.
That's good to remember. Because
yeah. So
a lot of us being picked up.
Yeah, I got picked. Yeah, well, that was the other thing I remember talking about in the show that was I thought a feminist thing to remember. And that was the other thing, is having to use my body. Like I hate using my body. I hate people looking at my body. That's why I love comedy, because it's about listen to what I say, not what I look like. And no, dancing is very much look at my body doing stuff.
Look at me writhe.
And I never wanted to get picked up. I'm like, don't pick me. I hate getting picked up. I don't want to get picked up because in my mind goes, I'm going to be too heavy for you to pick me up, and that'll make me feel bad. And he taught me that you need to, if I'm strong, I'm so much easier to pick up. Like if I'm part of it, it's not me just being picked up. It's you're working together and holding yourself strong. And then, and so it's about strength and being, anyway, that was really good. My favorite dance was the foxtrot, which sounds wrong, but it's because it was no hips, no eye contact. And you basically lean back and you don't look at each other and you just dance around. It's the greatest.
Excellent. But you were so good though. For somebody who said you'd never even been to ballet as a kid, or you'd never danced in your life.
Ballet. I did calisthenics when I was like 6, which is rods. It's on your own. It's definitely no
one's touching you.
No one's touching me. But I think it's because I won because I had the best story. Like, that's the thing. It's part of it. I had the furthest to go. Like, Claudia Carvin is a better dancer, but she was a better dancer than me from the start. So I think because at that point it was still live and voted, so people had to get on board with you and your story. So I feel like we went the furthest from the most awkward, and Jared and I, not really have a connection to pulling together. And I feel like that's when it turned, when he realized that being funny and being vulnerable, gets people on side.
Because they're watching a progression, they're voting for, they're rooting for you.
I also had a bad mental health day on set that went on television that just fluked it, that actually ended up being a really good thing because it opened a conversation and I was able to raise money for my charity. Anyway, I love the whole thing. But a real marker in my life was that, Deb, and I haven't listened back to that episode, but it must be surreal. Do you know what I mean? Just for all of us, anything pre-2020 to just go, oh, babes, you've got no idea. Oh,
you don't know what's coming.
Go get some sunshine now, yeah.
But I remember how funny you were. You were saying that sometimes you would get angry with each other because it's quite tense. And then you said, but there's no time to stop. You have to practice, so you just have to dance angry. Just like, you're just like sulsuring with someone, but fuming at each other. Yeah. And that was, I remember it very well. But I remember the way that you talked about it. You're very good at getting feminism out of funny things that you wouldn't think would be a feminist topic, but the way you would talk about getting to know your body or allowing yourself to be looked at, or you have to take up space when you're dancing. And it was really interesting to see you talk about that in that way. And I feel like you've also done some really big shows with us, some of the Hamer Hall shows, where we've had lots of different artists on, and, like they've been big, like I always call it feminist variety, what we do when we do those big tour shows. I always think the only thing we don't have is a feminist magician. And I'm always tempted to get one who cuts a man in half and just leaves him there for the whole show.
There's got to be.
There must be. There must be. It's feminist. It's feminist variety. And I think I associate you with somebody who never doesn't smash it with stand up. Like when you came on and told your giving birth story. Oh, my God.
But again,
that was just
perfect
genius.
Audience. Never had a more perfect audience than a Guilty Feminist Hamer Hall audience.
Yeah, you bring your A game though. You really, really do. Ned, have you got a clip for us?
You ready for some stand-up comedy? Welcome to the stage, the incredible Celia Pacqola. Thank you. Hello. Wow, what a night. You having a nice time? Fuck me. So wonderful to be here. As I say, this is a big deal for me. Thank you very much for having me. This is my probably last time on stage for a long time, because you probably can't tell, but I'm having a baby. Not right now. Nobody panic. And I tell you what, I would have done it a lot sooner if I'd known about the applause. I love it. Oh, thank you. See? Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if I would have got into comedy, because I could just do this, just walking around. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
I'd forgotten about that, Deb. Oh my God. I really didn't think I genuinely was like, I don't know if I'll come back to comedy. Because I didn't
said
know
this.
To me. I
said this.
Really, part of me kind of hoped. Part of me was like, I'll be a completely different person. And I really did think, I put that in the show afterwards. I was like, I thought having a baby would change me. And I kind of wanted it to. Like, I thought it would make me, my priorities would sort out. I wouldn't sweat the small stuff. I wouldn't care what anyone thinks. It was still me, if anything, with more anxiety.
I remember that. You did a brilliant show. You brought that show to London. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think
but how you were thinking you'd be transformed into this person that has this amazing perspective, that you've brought life into the world. Why are you worried about what anyone else has got or how your career's going? You've just got this amazing life. And then you were like, no, it didn't change me at all.
If anyone's going to say to someone, man, you need to relax. You should get a kid. That's what like. But yeah, that's right. You saw that. Yeah, and I only found out later that David Tennant and could have invited him to that show, and that is the biggest regret of my life. Deborah Frances-White, outrageous. Anyway, I know.
Next time you come.
Next time
you come.
I'll do it anyway out on his front lawn. But I genuinely thought, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know if I'll come back to stand up. I don't know what my life is going to be like. And I totally forgot about that. And also, Deb, that one, like that would have been one of the biggest rooms I've ever played. You know what I mean? That's that time. That was 2022 because I was so pregnant. That was, one of my last gigs ever. It really was. Might have been the last one before she was born. Crazy.
And we talk about it. I listen to it, and we talk about how you're inventing a little feminist. You've got a feminist inside of you.
Oh, that's right. Because when I had my ultrasound, all they could tell me that she was in the left ovary. I'm like, of course she's on the left.
She's my baby.
She's probably got a little ukulele and a keep cup in there as well.
And now she's out and growing. Do you think she is on the left? Do you think she is a feminist?
Look, do you know what? This is the thing, Deb. She loves princesses and pink. But I'm really hoping it's in an ironic, non-gender conforming way. Like part of it really.
She's only 4, isn't she?
3. She's 3. And I was such a tomboy, tree climb, so she's pretty rough and she's clumsy. Yeah, but that stuff is there. The dolls and the pink and that stuff, but also
she's a princess now, but there's time for a career change, Celia.
She also likes fairies and unicorns and stuff, which I'm into. I like the fairies rather than princesses, and magic and nature and that kind of stuff. But she's really great. And we talk a lot about, like I've taken her to protests and stuff, and I'm trying to have conversations like about, what's okay and what's not okay. But I think she'll definitely be a feminist. But it's interesting as well. I don't know I think we talked about this on that when I was pregnant, because I had real feelings about having a girl. Like I thought it was a girl, and I feel like I wanted a girl, and then I had to look at, why do I want her to be a girl? It's because it's weird, isn't it? Because I thought it's so I could connect with them. But then having a girl means knowing what world they're coming into, and that it will probably be harder and scarier, and there's more risk of awful things happening to them,
Yes.
So that's a strange thing, knowing that right now she's 3, and as far as I know, she's not scared. She doesn't have fear. Nothing terrible's happened to her, and she hasn't really experienced the sexism and stuff that's out there, but it's coming. And I don't know how long I can protect her in this little bubble, which is a thing, because as much as a lot's happened in 10 years, Deb, it's not, we haven't fixed it. 2017, I remember in 2018, I did, when I did my show after the show, when we talked about the Me Too stuff, I was like, in my last show, I talked about the Me Too movement. But I think we can all agree that everything's great for women now. We fixed it, so we don't have to talk about that anymore.
Yeah. Yes. In some ways, the world is so much worse than when we started, and you kind of go, oh, I mean, and when I say we started, I mean we's you and me in our time that we've become more active in feminism. I'm not talking about the absolutely many generations of women who have worked so hard to get us where we are. But some women who've been working since the 60s must look back and go, we thought we'd be further along. And in fact, in some ways, we more recently have been sliding backwards.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Like when Me Too was happening and women were marching in the streets, and there was this time that felt like some celebration, some recognition, even some justice in some cases. Did you feel like, oh, it's only going to get better? And are you now shocked that some of it's got worse?
Yes, it did. It did feel like a turning point. It felt like, and I said it in that show, it was like, no matter with everything that's going on, we can all agree, this was in 2017, that right now is a real bad time to have been a sexual predator in the past. Okay? So it felt like from now on, and that's all you can do, right? It feels like it's really hard to fix stuff, but it felt like from now on, surely they'll stop because this has happened, and now there's accountability and people are on it and calling people out, and it just didn't happen. Bill Cosby is not in jail. Like I know.
I know.
Trump is not in jail. I can't. It's like
the Epstein files are just beyond anything
there's no
you can imagine.
I don't understand. There's no rule. There's nothing that's so bad that will cause justice. Like, yeah, it's really, really upsetting. And then the overturning, like the taking away of rights for women and trans people, that the actively going backwards is completely horrifying. So I'm terrified. I'm very scared. There's little shining lights of, in Australia, there's Grace Tame and these incredible women and, Greta Thunberg and all these, but it feels like right now, it's just sort of, they're just sort of taking turns of who to take aim at taking rights from, if that makes sense.
Yes,
like right now, sort of distracted with war, but when that's done, it feels like then it'll come back around to immigrants or women or so. No, I don't feel great. I'm really.
In what ways do you think we are further along than we were 10 years ago? How do you feel in yourself personally in terms of your feminism?
Well, I mean, I continue to have a career as a woman. So in my personal experience, that's an act of feminism, is me just being a 40-year-old woman saying sort of how it is being a woman and that being received well.
Do you have a better attitude about where you deserve to be in the world and how a more sense of self-awareness around the internalized misogyny?
But it's more about, because I've proven career-wise, like I feel more confident because I can turn around and things to point to and go, look, I've been doing this for 20 years and I've got this, and this success that I can point to, which makes me feel more grounded to say I know what I'm talking about in this field. I feel sort of, as I say, it's a constant struggle with aging and with the world the way it is, to loving your aging self and being public. Like mine is a head that goes on television, and that's confronting, that to say that my head is worth being on television. I recently did a show where I was kind of a love interest, and that was weird to be like, no one wants to see this, head flirt, but it's important that
turns out people did.
Important, you need to see real heads like mine out there flirting. What I am doing at this point, because I'm more sort of settled, I'm very lucky that I'm established in my career at the moment, and working pretty consistently right now, touch wood, to help and support the young ones coming up. I'm directing Lena Moon, who's an up-and-coming comedian, and I really enjoy doing that and trying to go out and see the new people. And like that show 10 years ago, I can't believe people came to my show 10 years ago. Like, I cannot believe that people came to my show when my photo was a photo I took on my shitty Nokia, and my only quote was, "My mum thinks I'm funny." So I feel like the women I know are more connected and we're more open. So that's good. We're all having these conversations.
Do you mean 20 years ago, or do you mean 10 years ago? I thought 10 years ago you were successful. Yeah.
It's still pretty good. Yeah, 20 years ago. I mean, yeah, I hosted the gut. Yeah. 15.
Yeah. I think, yeah. A lot longer time ago, because as long as I've known you, you've been really successful. Do you remember, now I'm going to ask you something, I don't even know if you remember this, but I remember it so clearly. Very early on, I barely knew you. I was at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and somebody wrote this really pernicious article in The Age about women in comedy. And basically said, I think it was a woman who wrote it, and she said, women aren't funny and it was the most poisonous article. I remember I carried it in my bag for a while because I was just so angry about it, and I talked to people about it. It was one of the things that I think was just before the Guilty Feminist, and I had started to get really angry about this kind of thing. But I remember it said, Celia Pacquola's all right because she's pretty.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Pretty bit. I remember it being something like, I remember it was something like I was on her side and I was furious. I'm like, don't bring me, what? I hate you. You say women aren't funny. And this is the annoying thing, because I used to bug me so much that I'd get reviews that weren't, she's funny. It was just like, she's nice. You want to hang out with her? No, I'm funny. You
are very, very funny.
Hang out with it.
But I remember them saying you were pretty. I remember that. And I remember you being very insulted by it and sort of like, I'm a comedian. Like,
this is
thanks, but
I feel
what?
I feel very grateful to be in comedy because we're sort of given a free pass as a sidesteppers. It's about what you say, and if the sort of you're allowed to look weird or like whatever, and if anything, it's
or regular. You're allowed to look regular. You don't have to look network television thin. You don't have to be.
I'm not trying to be. It's about what I say. That's why the dancing stuff was so full on. Why I hate having my photo taken, because photos are just about what you look like, not about what you're doing. So yeah, it's interesting, is it? And coming up as well. Like me and a couple of other. I feel like when women start comedy, you're so angry. Like we had a thing called the Skirt Network, and then you so want to, really do all of this stuff, and then the longer you're in it, you just sort of get tired of it, so you find quieter ways to sort of help each other. I don't know, but what is amazing is in Australia and the UK, the amount of talent in females and non-binary and trans performers is it's really like, I was in, no offense to my straight white male comedian friends, of which I have many, but I was just at Adelaide Fringe and Melbourne Comedy Festival's coming up, and the shows that I'm most excited to see are the not straight white men, and there's heaps. Like it really is. There seems to be a lot more than there was. Of course, there's always room for more, but it does feel like the scene is pretty vibrant with diverse voices at the moment. I mean, maybe that's me being. But that's the way it seems to me.
No, I feel so too. I feel we're in a golden age of comedy, and the people are doing hour-long storytelling shows or hour-long shows of absolute invention. I remember comedy, 20, 25 years ago and longer, and it was not of the level that it is now. Like there are so many incredible 1-hour shows that could, that get turned into TV specials or don't, that are really exceptional. And I feel like and the wide variety of voices pushes innovation, because people see each other and they're inspired by each other, and younger comics coming up are inspired. And you can go to Edinburgh and you can see 5 shows in a row and not have a miss, and they are all different. And it will be the same at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And a lot of that is allowing, or not really, not that those voices were allowed through, those voices pushing through. Because I remember when that article came out in The Age, I'd love to see if I can find it online at some point. But I remember we all went and had our picture taken. Do you remember that? We went and had a picture taken at Town Hall.
All the women.
No, yeah, well, I thought we did it at Town Hall because that was a Melbourne article. There was definitely one where we all went. It was in response. I think there was a joint letter written back to The Age, and there was a photo of us all on the steps. And now, like, that's how far we've come. Like, this is the thing, that is how far we've come. No one would write that article now, although with the manosphere, there are things pushing back, but it wouldn't be in The Age.
That's the other thing that's interesting as well, is like, the fact, just because it's happening right now, Deb, is like when the Me Too movement was there, it feels like this Manosphere documentary has just come out, and it feels like, whereas Me Too was women speaking out themselves, this is the Manosphere outing themselves, but it's kind of, I'm not watched it and I don't wish to, because I know I don't want to see, people are like, no, but it's good because they're sort of showing how pathetic they are. I'm like, I know. I don't, like, okay, is that going to do, I really hope that does something. Like, it feels like a lot of men are like, what? Like, well, for my show this year, because I, as I say, I obviously usually don't wade into these spaces unless I can. But like, what's an actual way that could be useful, that is funny, but also a positive message? But because basically I understand that works, that if you're lonely and isolated, that you are, like, fact, more likely to be recruited into these kind of spaces. So my show talk about relationships and friendships. So I was like, so you need to make friends, if not for yourself, but because every friend you make today is potentially one less Nazi or one less misogynist. Like it is. It's having a human connection at that point. And at the end of my show, I'm giving some ticket sales to charities. And I think in Melbourne, for local, but I think in Melbourne, it's going to be half Safe Steps, which is this amazing charity that is the emergency getting women and children out of who are experiencing family and domestic violence. And then there's another one called Man Cave, which is a charity set up to help young boys have connection in this, like just what you were talking about. Like there just needs to be an alternate place for the boys to go. It's not the boys' fault, because this is the thing that I feel so frustrated with, is you look at Andrew Tate and I go, what, you're done. It's terrible that I'm like, I don't know. Like,
no, there's no, like Andrew Tate knows who he is, and however he got there, he is doing such damage, and he has been so violent structurally and physically that I just absolutely know. But he is yes, but the boys.
They're boys. That's why I'm saying, like, having a daughter, I'm nervous because I know what she's going into. But if you have a son, then it's, well, now the fear is you want them to not become Andrew Tate. So that's so, and I don't know how to get them. I don't know who the comedian is. I'm so sorry, but I saw this really great bit of stand-up, which was basically saying the teenage boys need Jackass again. Like they need, they can look at and do dumb stuff, but it's not. It's just, we'd much rather them be, riding trolleys down a hill than, because also what you're talking about, like finding worth and stuff, sure, that's fine. Why does it have to be at the expense of women or other people, like?
I think the message they're being told is your worth is being on a yacht, having money in the bank, having a Lamborghini, and women go into that worth category. So they go into property. If you can have a hot girlfriend on your arm, she has the same status as the Lamborghini you get into, because she can get onto the yacht because of some inherent worth. And like a Lamborghini has an inherent worth, i.e. it costs, I don't know how tens of thousands of, I don't know how much a Lamborghini costs, but a lot of money. So does the girlfriend. You're going to have to provide for that girlfriend. And so this whole trad wife piece is doing the same thing, which is you need a high worth man. And that high worth man has these markers. And so the idea of romance, connection, finding a person who wants to go through life with you is,
oh, Deb, what are we going to do?
Sorry, I don't mean to depress you. Ned.
Yes.
Do you have another clip?
I worry that it will make me too safe to take risks, because I don't want people to say something they won't like it. Like this show in particular, my show this year is the first time where I think there'll be people who really will like it, and I think there's going to be people who will come knowing me from other things who really won't like it at all. But to begin anyway. Other good things I think can come out of it is you can use it as an inspirational thing to get stuff done, not reviews in particular, but 2017, I had a motto rather than a resolution, and this was the only way I could get anything done. My motto for 2017 was, you'll see, you'll all see. And it made me go to the gym. It made just a spike. Just look in the mirror like, I'm going to show all you haters. I'm going to get it. And my backup motto was, fuck me, fuck you. Right to my face.
Brilliant.
Deb! I forgot as well. So that show, that was a big thing. That was the thing from the Me Too thing. So that show in 2018 was the first time I talked about having abortions and stuff.
Yes.
And because Trump had, that was when all that happened. He'd done some post and I've made it public. And that was the first time I'd done that. And that was why I was really scared about that show. And I talked about, the pro-life, pro-choice stuff. And that was a, I feel like that's a thing in my career, and that's being more confident with my feminism and taking bigger steps.
Absolutely.
And like mental health, it's like every step of the way, it's like, all right, I'm now at a point where I'm comfortable talking about this and being public with that, but trying to do it in a way where I can bring people with me. I feel like that's my fear, and that was my fear with that show, that I'd do it and then people would go, oh, no, that's too far. And it did. Some people will go, oh, not for me.
Yeah.
But
a lot of your audience did come with you, didn't they?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course. And now happy being open about it. Because that's the other thing with our job as well. Once it's out there, then that means it's fair game for any interviewer ever to in a 5-minute radio interview, go, tell me about your abortion and your mental health and your, all of this stuff, because you've made it public and you're a public figure. But it's worth it. It feels like it does something, and getting messages from people, you never really know who's listening. Like the show about having a baby was about that being difficult and postnatal depression and that kind of stuff. And so continuing, even in the face of all of this stuff that feels like it's going backwards, I don't know, it's important to still keep finding the little ways where you can push it a bit further, I guess.
Agreed. And in fact, there is a great way that you managed to push everything further. And that's in this clip.
At Perth Fringe this year, Anne Edwards and I had finished our last show and we were having a drink at this really funky bar where the staff were so young. You know when you feel like asking them for ID? Like, can I see your thing? Anyway, so I'd finished the show and then we had a drink and then Anne gave me a lift home and dropped me off, and then I got into my apartment and I thought, oh, fuck. And I sent her a text going, I've left a box of dildos in that bar, which I had. So I have a dildo as a prop and I happen to have a box filled with dildos, 6 dildos, 4 dildos in packets, 1 free-range dildo, which would be fun if I also hadn't left in there a copy of my script with my name on the top. But the worst thing about it was I thought, oh, no, because I genuinely thought that this group of young, funky bartenders who spoke to us would have found a box of dildos and thought, yeah, that's exactly what those women be carrying around. Do you know what I mean? That they were going, yeah, that's exactly what I imagined they had.
I think that'd be counting. Like, why would you need this one?
So many dildos, I know. This is not really about maturity, but it kind of is because it just makes me laugh so much. There's another dildo story from us in a different flat.
Oh, yes.
Please tell. So I did a stand-up show where at the end of every show I had a door prize under the thing, and inside it was a large dildo. Because being sex positive, it was clear in a box and stuff, right? Mm. But one of them had my name. I had one that I would use on stage that had my name in Sharpie, because the joke was I had one when I was about 20 and I lost it and I don't know where it is. And it could, because I don't know where it is, it could be anywhere. And then the joke is, oh, it's under your chair and it's got my name on it. Anyway, so I had a bunch of dildos around me at all times. My agent had to buy me a bunch of dildos. Because they were props, right?
Yeah.
And then
we moved out.
And then we had cleaners come and do the final clean, right? And then Geraldine sent me a photo she's like, there was some stuff that they'd missed.
There was a couple of boxes that were in a cupboard and stuff, and they had taken them out and put them in the hallway. So there was a couple of boxes and something else.
No.
And then on top of the boxes
was a loose dildo.
No.
With black texture written on it, Celia.
No.
So to their mind, they have cleaned up a house that has so many dildos in it that you've got to put your name on it.
Oh my gosh, Geraldine Hickey, one of my best and closest mates still. I was one of the best women at her wedding.
Oh.
With her as well. Also,
she is
Deborah
truly
Frances-White, I've
wonderful.
forgotten all about. Also, free range dildo. I'm so proud of myself for that turn of phrase.
Yes.
Look at this. In my new house in 2026, in a hidden jar on a bookshelf. What's that?
Oh, it's the Celia dildo.
It's the actual Celia dildo.
It's the actual one.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that.
It's moved with me. It's moved with me, and it's hidden in this jar that goes on the cupboard, along with a glow-in-the-dark vulva. I don't know I think we went to some.
Yes, from a brilliant guest who was showing us. Do you remember there was a guest that had like a sex educator that had a cervix you could take apart and things like that?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm pretty sure if you've got any vulva-themed or fallopian tube-themed gadgets around the house, no doubt you got them at the Guilty Feminist because someone's brought them along. The number of tote bags with vulvas cross-stitched on them I've been given over the years, and I'm grateful for all of them. Thank you very much to everyone who's given them. It's been such a joy to do the Guilty Feminist, and I really love doing it in Australia, and I really miss we haven't done enough in Australia the last few years for various reasons, but I want to come back out because we're doing this run of this project here called The Road to Gilead, which is about the rise of the far right and fighting the far right. And I really want to bring some shows to Australia because I keep seeing, Nazis marching in the street and Pauline Hanson gaining ground and things like that. So I think it's time to bring it to Australia. So I'm going to try and bring it later in the year. And I do hope you will join us back on stage.
Yes, let me know what I can do if you're doing stuff. I'm here.
I would love that. I would love that.
There's a bunch of cool, chicks doing stuff.
I would love that. We miss being there. Can I ask you what your hopes are for the next 10 years of feminism? Because your daughter will be 13 in 10 years' time.
Oh my gosh. I hope we figure out. So in Australia right now, they're trying the social media ban for children until you're 16. And it's sort of experimental, and some people like it doesn't do anything. You know, they're finding ways around it, and, you know, it's going to cause more, you know, because kids need the internet for connection. I don't know. I think we connect. I really hope that we come together in person more. Like the fact that comedy still exists gives me such hope. The fact that people still come out to rooms and that hasn't been taken over, and that's still nothing that can replace being in the same physical place as people. I don't know. I hope we don't have any more rights taken away from us. I hope we get some more rights back, and I don't know, closer to equality. Feels like, well, that's always the goal, is just.
There's so much to fight for. And in some ways, yes, you look back and you think, oh God, how are we here now with the manosphere, and how are we here now with abortion laws being taken away, and in the United States of America, and how that, you know, that light shines out around the world. And then in other ways, I feel I've never been more galvanized, and I feel like the spirit and energy around me for people to make genuine change and leave the house is real at the moment. It is real, and I really feel.
And the other thing with all of this horrible thing, there's an example of awful people doing awful things as well. In my actual circles, I see a lot of beautiful, kind, smart boys and girls and men and women, and, you know, at her childcare, them all being taught wonderful things about, you know, our national history and about Indigenous culture and about body safety and about equality, and, you know, so that's good to remember as well, to see all this terrifying stuff online, but then still recognize there's people out there who are kind and good and
you're right. And we would not have been taught those things at when we were at school in Australia.
Oh no, it's amazing. There's some really great stuff, like just things like my bubble. She's only 3, but you get to learn my bubble. So this is a sort of safety bubble, and you have to ask. You go, can I come into your bubble? And if she opens her arms, go, yes, you can come in my bubble. Or no, you can't come in my bubble. And just, you know, it's never okay. You know, just all of the stuff that we don't have the language for. I saw this really cool video that was like a mother was asking her children to finish the sentence that, like, in our day would have been. Did you see it? Was like, I'll give you a reason to. Oh no,
I'll give you something to.
Something to. And there was like, we obviously know from the 80s would be cry about.
Cry about, yes.
And their child went, snack to eat. I'll give you something to eat from the kitchen. And it was like, yes, that's that kind of stuff.
We must take our wins where we get them and allow them to create positive energy in our body so that we can leave the house and do good work.
Anyway, but
I'm glad you have come back out to do comedy, and you haven't given up, because we need your voice.
It's so funny. So this show is the dumbest show. My stand-up show this year is genuinely about the fact that for my birthday last year, my boyfriend gave me an inflatable kayak.
Oh, that's
it's
right.
It's the silliest show I've ever done, but it's about relationships and friendships and gift giving and stuff. The tagline is, it's a show about people we love and the things they give us that we hate.
Yeah.
Like this year, when there's the most horrible things going on in the world, that I'm talking about something that is the most trivial, but it's a fun escape. You know, I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, sometimes we need respite and we need joy and we need to talk about the little things. But also, knowing you, I know there's Trojan horse feminism in there.
Well, yes, there is.
Where can we see your show, Celia?
So I'm doing Melbourne and then Brisbane, Sydney, Hobart, all around. I don't know if I'll come back. As I said, I was in the UK last year, did the last show, and I had a lovely time coming back to London. So maybe I'll bring this show back there.
Yay! Everyone's cheering, saying bring it back to London.
Half Irish daughter, so we do come back now to go see the Nana. I know.
I think it's a great opportunity to go and see her grandparents and also spend some time with us in London and do a lovely run at the Soho Theatre so we can all come and see the show.
Yes, please. Thanks, Dev.
Celia, it's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. It's always a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much. You've brought us so many memorable episodes, and it's been also wonderful to reminisce about our time with Cal. And how wonderful she was. And that is honestly one of my favorite episodes ever, Nice Girls Don't. If everyone could go and listen to it, you'll get a lot out of it, but also you'll be able to hear it. listening to it today, it brought it back to me that it's like getting to spend time with you and Cal together again. It's absolutely wonderful. Anyway, I love you so much. Thanks, Celia. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Celia Pacqola. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producers for The Spontaneity Shop were Tom Selinsky and Ned Sedgwick. Thanks to Gina DCO, Zainab Mohammed, and all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.